So you want to learn how to sell with a VSL. Let's go. All right, what's up everybody? Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to build part 2 of how to create a VSL for your business. Before we do that, if you have not watched part 1, please hit pause, go back to the video. It's linked in the description below. You really need to understand the strategy behind why we're using a VSL, what its purpose is, how the whole system works, okay? If you've done that, then awesome. Let's go ahead and move into today's training. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and really, where do we want me today? Let's put me in the bottom left-hand corner. That's always a comfortable place to be. I wanted to, before we jump through these 10 steps, okay, I wanted to really just maybe simplify making a VSL as much as I can, okay? Because I think a lot of times we just overcomplicate things. So really there's 3 things that we're doing in a VSL, 2 big things and then 1 really small, organic, natural thing. And that is we want to tell the bad stories. Okay, that's number 1, identifying and telling the bad stories that our audience tells about our thing in their heads. It's there already. We just need to identify it, tell the story so they know that we understand them. So that's number 1. The number 2 is we need to tell them better stories. We need to tell them stories that have merit, stories that they can believe, stories that show how we discovered the solution to the bad stories that live inside their heads. And once we've done that successfully, then we can tell them what we want them to do next. So really the whole point of a VSL or even a webinar is just to follow this framework, identify the problem and show how we discovered the solution. All right, now, before we jump into, again, once we jump into the 10 steps, this is going to be very, maybe kind of paint by numbers, step 1, step 2. What I wanted to do was just highlight once again the whole reason. Why are we doing a VSL in the first place? What's a success mean? Now, I put this on here because I want you to really understand. I want you to have the proper perspective. A friend of mine, Jason Wardrop, told me something really cool. And he said, amateurs try to convince, pros sort and sift. Okay? So when you're putting together your language, when you're putting together your headlines, you must absolutely personify the messaging, the type of communication that speaks to somebody very unique and somebody specific. You must, with your promises, with your stories, sort and sift. So if we have 90% of our audience that falls out of our VSL because they don't fit, that is success. All right, now let's go ahead and we're going to jump into the training. All right, so I've got this identified in 10 steps. We're gonna go step by step. I'll try and explain this as good as I can, but understand also that below, I'll make this script and these steps available for you to use here. So you can do this yourself. All right, so step number 1, create an attention grabbing hook. Now, again, if you watch the first video, the entire video was dedicated to creating an attention grabbing hook. This is the 80%. Why? Because most people are not going to become converted through the VSL. They're going to become converted through the follow-up actions. Now, if we have a really unique and very concise, very specific hook, then we'll be able to squeeze, okay, use our squeeze page and grab the attention of the people that we want to follow up with. All right, so that is why this is step number 1. This is very important. Again, this is another call to go back and watch that video. All right, so the first 15 to 45 seconds are the absolute most important part of your VSL, okay? Even if prospects don't watch the entire video, if we do this section right, our follow-up efforts will create future sales for a long time coming. All right. Now, when we're picking a hook, the question we need to answer is this: who are we talking to? Who is the avatar? And what do they know? Okay. Do they know about what we do? Do they not know? Are they aware of the problem they have? This is very important because it's going to dictate how we start the conversation. It's going to dictate the conversations. It's going to dictate the promises we can make. If we make a promise that they don't understand, then it's going to not work at all. Okay. So if we're talking too far down the awareness spectrum, we'll never get the attention we need. That's what I just said. So we need to make sure that we're speaking in terms that our prospects, our people understand. Once we figure that out, we need to make our approach unique. What do I mean by unique? Here's what I mean by unique. If you look and you see other people who are you're competing against, your competition, and they're making all these promises, they're saying, oh, we help you get this result using this process. You cannot say the same thing. You have to approach your prospect in a unique way. Know your audience, know your competition, and know the offers that are being made to them. All right, let's jump back into it. All right, let's put me on the right side. That's fun. All right. So I went ahead and I put together a quick example. We need to position our hook as a qualified audience. We need a unique hook. Let's go ahead and look at the example we've looked at previous. If you remember this was the story I told. Again, this is in a previous video, also linked below, about how I learned how to sell by speaking to somebody very specific based on a very unique problem. So I was trying to get real estate agents to send me loans. I couldn't get anybody to send me loans until one day I was looking at this magazine. I found a gal named Christina. She worked with first-time home buyers who were Spanish speaking, and I spoke Spanish. So I called her up and I said, hey, why don't I help you with your first-time home buyers? Why don't I speak Spanish? You don't have to translate. This was a very specific promise. This is what it means to have a unique hook, to be able to speak to that audience in such a way to where everything seems like you are talking only to them. All right, we'll jump back into this. Okay, how do we make our hook unique? We can ask a qualified question. That's what we did. You know, when I was reaching out to Christina, I said, hey, let me qualify this. Spanish speakers, first-time homebuyers, I speak Spanish. That's qualifying. That's really narrowing down the pool of people that we're working with. So here's an example of how we do this. Are you a real estate agent who works with Spanish-speaking first-time homebuyers? Boom, that's a qualified question right there. We can also make a qualifying statement, okay? You can use this. I call it a conditional transformation framework, and here's how it works, okay? The more things I can layer, which we'll go over an example, the more things I can layer will make my avatar feel, again, like I'm talking to them. It will make it more unique. So let's see how many conditions I can layer. If you're a real estate agent, number one, I'm talking to real estate agents. That's the category, okay? Number two, working with first-time home buyers. That's another layer, okay? Who are Spanish speakers. That's 3 conditions that I've outlined that now makes the person I'm talking to incredibly unique compared to what most people do, which is just, hey, if you're a real estate agent, I can help you get more buyers. That doesn't work. All right. Then we talk, so that's the conditional part of this framework. The next part is transformational. Well, what do you want to give that specific audience? The transformational is the unique benefit that you want to promise to that specific audience. All right, it's the desired outcome. Now, we'll go ahead and read the example I have. So it says, if you're a real estate agent working with first-time homebuyers who are speaking Spanish and you're looking for a growing pipeline of pre-approved buyers in today's high interest rate market, okay, that's kind of cool. That's the transformation. The outcome you're looking for. But what is the formula? How do we approach a person to where we say, hey, you're looking for this? It's a really cool formula. Okay. Once we've added attention, then we need to add in curiosity. Curiosity. How do we add in curiosity? Well, let me go into that. All right. So this is one of my favorite formulas I learned from my marketing mentor, Gary Bensamanga, which is B plus C equals I. All right. Which means a unique benefit. So something that they want, that unique audience, something they want, okay, plus curiosity equals interest. Now, you establish curiosity by removing an assumption, okay? Let me help you get the thing you want without the thing they assume it's going to require to get it, all the hard work, all the effort, all the whatever, without the X. And then all of a sudden, now we have interest. Give me this thing I want without the effort. Now we have the interest. Here's an example. Let me get you qualified leads every single day for your real estate agency without having to hire an expensive ad agency. Boom. B plus C equals I. All right, we are moving right along here. Let's go ahead. Let's put me up here for now. That's a fun little change. All right, so we are on to the transition. The transition is really easy. Really, we just want to give them an expectation about how long the video is going to be. So we just tell them, stick around for the next 5 minutes and I'll show you how you can get X without Y. All right, the old way. Now, this is where the bad story starts to get introduced. We have to, and the primary reason we need to tell the bad story is not just because we want to layer on pain. It's because we want to really demonstrate that we understand the situations and the symptoms that are present with their bad story. Okay. So, we can ask questions. I say, how do we find out? How do we, trigger that empathy? Ask an empathy question. Are you tired with tire kickers, tired of pipelines? You constantly have to babysit and feel like you never get enough momentum to make commissions every single month. So if you're a real estate agent, and you're a person that's living with this, boom and bust, this feast and famine pipeline, that's what I'm speaking to. Okay. And I'm asking questions that will trigger my understanding as well as their living of that scenario. So we want to highlight the old way by telling that story, by really just inciting, hey, are you a person that has symptom, situation, this reality? And the more we can layer on in terms of our understanding of that situation, the better off they're going to believe us when we transition to the better story. All right, transition to trust. This is where we start replacing their bad story with our story. All right. So this is the part of the VSL where stories start to play the key role, and telling the right story. That's a big thing. Telling the right story can make all the difference. This is a big warning. Okay. This is not a let's talk about me session. Okay. You do not want to talk about you and, the story's all about you. That will kill your conversions. If this is a, talk about me fest, that'll kill your conversions. You want stories that they can relate to and stories that show how you discovered the solution. So that's just kind of a word of warning. If you feel like you're talking about yourself too much, rejigger the story a little bit so it, includes them and their situations. All right. The story. Now there's really a couple of different kinds of story. There's not necessarily a right or a wrong way to tell a story other than let's not talk about me. I have your story, other story, and then unexpected results story. And I'll let you read those. For the most part, when if you have a relationship, if you have a reason for serving the niche that you've chosen to serve, most of the time you've actually lived through that scenario. And so just by relating that situation to those people, they'll understand it. That's number one. If you haven't, a lot of times sharing these stories of others. So like somebody like them, if it's a real estate agent, we were working with Christina McNeil, and before we did so, she always would have to, translate for her buyers and chase banks down to get them approved. However, after working with us, we've been able to alleviate all of that pressure from her. We take care of, if you just kind of talk about those kind of things and you replace all their bad situations, it might be a poor example because we're talking about real estate specifically in that example. But in your own niche, you can absolutely find a story, a good story that shows how you discovered this solution. And that is the bridge that brings us to the next step. Okay. Now at this point, here's a big, and I underlined this. Okay. We want to keep them wanting more. If we've told the bad story, they've opened up their minds to believe us. They feel that empathy. We replace it with a better story. Okay. I'll give you an example. One of the stories that I tell is when people, like one of the bad stories that people have about Facebook ads is that the lead quality is bad. And I will tell a story about, well, we had a case study published by Facebook. And when they showed us our attribution data, we had 3 campaigns. Of the 3 campaigns, one produced 80% of the revenue. And then the other 2 got 80% of the leads, but only 20% of the revenue. What was very special about that one ad that produced 80% of the revenue? It was a qualified prospect, a price above $40, and something that approached a very unique condition. So I tell those 3 things and I include the story, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, well, that makes sense to me. Now I adopt that story as my new reality. That might seem a little disjointed from this example. However, we can use experiences like that, whether it's a case study, whether it's a person we were working with and they had experience X, and then after working with us, experience Y. These can all be ways to feed into them wanting more. All right, at this point, you've piqued their interest, but you can't tell them how. All right, I know you want to. I know you want to tell them everything, but you can't do that. Okay, so this is where you need to use the momentum of the story and take a minute to introduce yourself. Again, this is a small, 10 to 30 second thing. My name is Sam Carlson. Over the last 5 years, I work with Spanish speaking agents who focus on first time home buyers because fill in the blank. Okay. They want to know who you are and why you do this. Now, if the information you're giving away is so good, they need to justify your why. Why are you giving this away? Okay. I think this is actually not incredibly difficult to do. Here's an example. So the big question is, why would I give away information that's so valuable? Well, the truth is, I know that a few people will muster up the effort to do this themselves, but others who see what we're doing and see the merit will just say, we think we would just really have your team do it. And so if that's the case, I'm willing to just give it away and be transparent so those people who need help can get the help they need. Boom. Now you've justified it. Okay, make your case. Making your case. This is an interesting one because it's not necessarily a part of your story, although you can use a story to do this. It really is framing out the new opportunity. Okay, so the new opportunity, this is the new thing that you're going to offer them. So for example, the guide says, how do you start the process of making your case, which is ask an opportunity question. Okay, here's an example. With all the new automations, specialized softwares, smart people creating chatbots and all that kind of good stuff, shouldn't there be something that combines all of them? And shouldn't there be an install once and then set and forget prospecting machine? I mean, you're kind of setting, that's the setting. You set them up to buy your thing later. Wouldn't it make sense that there would be something like that? I mean, we're in the evolution of marketing. Shouldn't there be something like that? You haven't heard of it, but shouldn't there be? Okay. So an opportunity question might just be kind of a leading question. Okay. Wouldn't it make sense that after working with real estate agents for 5, 6, 7 years, we would have figured out a solution that is simple and that cuts out the fat and delivers this result? Wouldn't that make sense? Boom. There you go. Okay. Tie it back to the simple story. Now, if done right, okay, your story arc, and remember the very first slide where we talked about the bad story and the good story. Okay. If done right, your story arc will address the problem that they see in their industry. Okay. It will sell the idea of your new solution. And then all you need to do is provide clarity on what they need to do next. Let's go back to the real estate example. Okay. Well, here's the good news. Our team over here at Find Your Buyers, fancy name, have done just that. We've taken all the guesswork out of marketing automations and made it so simple that people like Gary can spend all of their time working with ready to go buyers in Boise, Idaho. In fact, in the last 4 months, in the last month, he closed 4 deals using our system and still maintains a full pipeline so he can go out and do it again. Now, you notice I didn't jump into all the details. I made a claim and then I related it back to a story. Okay. I want them to visualize what it means to use this system, what it means to, it's a bad idea to try and explain. And I always say show beats tell every time. All right. And then at the end of this, when we've told that beautiful story, all we have to do is tell them what to do next. Okay. This is the if then call to action. So basically all you have to do is, so if you're a first time home buyer and you want to if you work with first time home buyers, and you want to fill your pipeline with qualified buyers every month, grab a time below and let's talk. Thanks for watching, Sam. That really is all it takes. Now, we've gone through several videos at this point. We've gone through how to sell. We've gone through how to create, the hook of a VSL. And then today, the 10-step program on how to create a VSL. And my hope at this point would be that you would go down below, you would grab the document and you would start sketching out these 10 steps and start sketching out your story arc. So when you do your video, it makes sense from beginning to end, that you identify a unique problem and that you present a unique solution and make your case for why that person should, in fact, reach out to you. If you do this right, and you run ads to it or you post it to your Facebook, personal feed, you paste it on YouTube, you get it on email, you just get it in front of your prospects. If you do this right, you will fill up your demo call, your strategy call, whatever you want to call that, every single day. And that is what we're going to work on next. So the next video we're going to be talking about is all about how to do demo calls and close clients. So thanks for watching the video. I'm looking forward to see some of these VSL examples. Maybe you'll post them in the comment section below and we'll see you on the next video.